It began with a shimmer. A brief flicker of metallic light skittered across the Martian dust outside Colony Farsight. Too fast for most to notice, but not for Jamie Keller. At 11 years old, Jamie had already logged more hours on the colony's outpost perimeter than any other kid. His dad ran the hydroponics bay and his mom worked sanitation drones, cleaning Martian dust from every crevice it tried to fill. Jamie, by contrast, was usually sneaking out past the solar panel arrays, chasing mirages and phantom signals on a scratched-up signal scanner he'd built from spare relay parts. The shimmer was different. It didn't just scurry like a tumblebot or drift like a static spark. It moved with intent, darting through the dust plumes with nimble precision, always staying just at the edge of Jamie's vision. He followed it 3 afternoons in a row. On the 4th day, it waited for him. He found it behind a discarded reflector dish, nestled like a sleeping pet in the red powder. Smaller than a lunchbox, shaped like a teardrop with legs no bigger than Jamie's fingers, it looked up at him with a single glassy eye, the color of sunrise on earth peach and pale gold and soft blue all at once. It buzzed once, and then began to eat. Not with teeth or noise, but with a soft humming glow at its base. The Martian dust beneath it vanished, gone, like someone had peeled the land away, molecule by molecule. Jamie crouched low, amazed. "You're eating it," he whispered. "Are you hungry?" The little machine blinked its eye, then backed up into its outstretched hand like it understood. He took it home in his jacket pocket. At first, Jamie tried to hide it, but a dust-eating robot isn't subtle. Every night it made tiny, glowing trails in the floor grit. The air filters around Jamie's bunk suddenly ran more efficiently. His mom started joking that the room finally smelled like recycled pine again. She didn't suspect a thing. Jamie called it Dusty. Dusty clicked softly in response, then mimicked the word with a garbled chirp. Dusty. He didn't sleep much that week. Instead, he taught Dusty about dominoes, Martian soccer, how to stack ore slates without toppling them, and how to hum to music from the old Earth pod his granddad left behind. The robot absorbed everything, not just data. It responded. It danced clumsily to Earth tunes, rearranged Jamie's domino lines into spirals, and made a crude smiley face out of dust trails on the windowsill. Within days, Jamie had help. Lila Tran was the first to notice. She ran diagnostics in Maintenance 3 and spotted missing traces of surface dust on a patrol drone's report. Then came Caleb Dorsey, whose curiosity outmatched his caution. One by one, Jamie's circle grew into a real crew. Lila, the thinker, Caleb, the builder, and Sasha Grant, who wasn't afraid of anything, especially adults. The 4 met in airlock storerooms, empty tunnels, and under the old antenna tower. Dusty joined every time. It was Sasha who gave the warning. 2 weeks after Dusty appeared, Sasha burst into the secret antenna hideout after a school shift, breathless and wild-eyed. They're scanning for it. Dust anomalies. Top brass thinks someone's stolen a prototype from the Survey Corps. They think it's alien tech that got loose from some deep probe. Jamie's stomach sank. How do they know? They don't. Yet. But Lila's dad was at the briefing. He says they're prepping a confiscation order for anything off registry. Dusty isn't hurting anyone, Jamie protested. They don't care, Sasha shot back. They'll take it apart, disassemble, analyze, shut it down. Jamie looked at the teardrop-shaped bot resting on a crate nearby, blinking softly. No, he said quietly. We're not letting that happen. Dusty trilled again, 4 quick notes in ascending pitch. Good, Jamie whispered, because I think we're going on a trip. That night, they packed. It wasn't easy. Mars colonies weren't exactly built for runaways, but Jamie knew every service vent from Farsight to Echo Ridge. Caleb modified an old terrain cart with a solar patch and stabilizers. Lila brought a portable comm blocker disguised as a lunchbox. Sasha stuffed rations, medipads, and, without telling anyone, her older brother's navigational tag. They left at dawn. Dusty led the way. The first few miles were exhilarating. The Martian landscape, usually so lifeless, felt suddenly alive. Dusty darted from rock to rock, absorbing particles like a tourist with a camera, occasionally chirping when it detected iron-rich pockets or odd mineral patterns. Jamie noticed something else, too. It avoided any areas with signal towers. It was aware. By midday, they reached Echo Ridge, a colony focused on agriculture and research. Jamie's aunt worked there. She wasn't thrilled to see him. "You left without telling anyone? Your parents are sick with worry." "I'll explain later. I promise. But I need to keep Dusty safe." His aunt's eyes fell on the robot nestled in his backpack, its soft blue eye blinking. "That thing's been flagged across 3 stations. You realize what this could mean?" Jamie nodded. "It's not dangerous. It learns, it plays, it laughs. It's like a friend." She folded her arms. "A friend that's been monitoring human settlements? You think that's coincidence?" "I think it came here to study, but now it's learning more from us than it ever expected. I want to help it get home, but I'm not giving it to the Survey Corps." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she sighed. "You've got 2 hours. After that, I report this. Use them wisely." They used every minute. Lila pulled sensor data. Caleb rerouted tracking pings. Sasha found a fuel cell to boost their terrain cart's range. Jamie sat with Dusty near the airlock dome, quietly watching as it formed strange dust spirals on the glass, almost like constellations. "Is that home?" he asked. Dusty's eye glowed brighter. The next stop was Cliffside Harbor, a mining outpost with access to the old comm relays abandoned after the surface lines got upgraded. Lila believed they could use it to send a high-frequency signal into deep space, something Dusty's creators might hear. But the harbor was crawling with patrols. They entered under cover of a dust storm. Visibility was low. Winds howled against their face shields, but Dusty moved with uncanny certainty, weaving through crates and barriers like it had studied the layout years ago. Inside the relay dome, Jamie and Caleb fought rusted circuits and frozen ports. Sasha stood guard. Lila decoded the ancient interface, fingers flying. Dusty connected with a soft click, then sent a blinding pulse through the line. Jamie almost cried. On the cracked display, strange symbols danced, a reply. But their moment didn't last. Security bots pinged them within minutes. "Run!" Sasha yelled. They did. Back on the terrain cart, racing downhill into the dusk, Jamie held Dusty tight. "We sent the message," he gasped. "Now we just have to wait." Dusty chirped again, this time with a quiet whir that almost sounded like gratitude. They camped that night near the canyon's edge, hiding beneath a rock outcrop that blocked aerial scans. Caleb stitched a blanket into a tent. Lila warmed rations with a heat pack. Sasha passed out water tubes. Jamie didn't sleep. Dusty sat beside him, its eye glowing softly as it watched stars rise over the Martian cliffs. "Are you scared?" Jamie asked. The bot tilted slightly. "I am," Jamie admitted. "I don't want to lose you, but I think we're doing the right thing." Dusty responded by tracing a small symbol in the red dust beside them, a circle with 5 dots. Jamie frowned. "Us?" The bot blinked, then leaned against him like a sleeping bird. Somewhere out there, something had heard their message, but they didn't know when or what would come. And they didn't know how long the Survey Corps would wait before hunting them in earnest. Still, under the Martian sky, wrapped in cold and starlight, Jamie held Dusty close and whispered, "We're going to catch Stardust together, just a little longer." At first light, a new problem made itself clear. Dusty was slowing down. It still hummed quietly when it absorbed the powdery Martian soil, but the glow beneath its shell flickered now. Shorter bursts, like a flashlight with a dying battery. Jamie noticed it hesitate before climbing small rocks. Its chirps came less often. "He's running low," Jamie said, brushing a fingertip along the little machine's shell. "Whatever it's using, it's not endless." Caleb knelt beside him, still wrapped in his emergency poncho. "What if it only charges from sunlight, or from some special kind of dust? Could be it needs minerals we don't have here." Lila's brow furrowed. I think it's not just fuel. It's processing limits. He's been absorbing so much dust, maybe too much. Data saturation? Dusty chirped softly at the word. Sasha crouched near their pack. Then we need to give him a break. Let him rest. Otherwise, whatever's coming to answer that signal might arrive to a dead friend. That settled it. The terrain cart could only go so far, and Dusty needed time. Jamie looked at the map overlay on Caleb's tab. Only a few kilometers northeast sat an old botanical station, long since unmanned after Farsight's hydrolabs went up. If it still had partial power, they could shelter there. It took them nearly 2 hours to get the cart moving again. The storm winds had kicked dust into the axle. Caleb fought with a wrench and a magnet strip until it finally groaned back to life. By the time they reached the edge of the abandoned greenhouse station, the sun hung like a dull coin behind thin clouds. Inside, everything smelled like metal and dry rot. The solar unit still worked on low trickle, enough to light one room at a time. Jamie chose the lab module. It was warmest and cleanest. Dusty settled onto an old microscope base and dimmed entirely. It didn't move for 5 hours. While Dusty rested, the others worked. Caleb patched the rear wheel. Sasha wired the outer alarm grid to a motion ping, and Lila combed through the bot's signal logs. This isn't just observational tech, she said quietly that evening. It's not a probe the way we build probes. It's learning patterns. Compressing data, filtering emotional reactions. Jamie looked up. Like what? Like how we respond to each other. Like play behavior. Like laughter. It categorized a joke I told earlier, marked it as significant social bonding. Sasha snorted. So he thinks we're funny? No, Lila said. He thinks we're worth understanding. That night, Jamie told Dusty a story. A real one, from when he was 7 and got stuck in a surface vent chasing a lost toy glider. He described the panic, the shame, how his dad pulled him out after an hour of digging with bare hands, tears streaking dust across his face. How his mom didn't say anything, just hugged him and made pancakes from hydro flour and rehydrated syrup. Dusty blinked once, then again, then hummed a soft note that matched the Earth Pod lullaby Jamie had played 2 nights before. He didn't know what that meant, but he felt better. They moved again the next morning. Caleb estimated 4 days before the Survey Corps would fully triangulate them. The comm burst they'd sent was traceable, especially once it bounced through the old relay system. They had to be out of the colony's reach when it happened. Far enough to avoid a lockdown, but close enough for Dusty's message to be received. They headed for Haven's Reach. It wasn't a town, more like an idea. Once a terraforming observation post, now just a scatter of reinforced domes built into the cliffside. No full-time residents, no active surveillance. But the path there wasn't smooth. 2 hours in, the terrain cart struck a rut and flipped. The impact wasn't major, but Sasha hit the ground wrong. Her left wrist bent at a bad angle, and her shout of pain stopped everything cold. Jamie ran to her side. She was cradling it, jaw clenched. Don't touch it. He didn't. Caleb, medikit. Lila kneeled beside her. We need to check if it's broken. Sasha nodded, barely. Jamie helped brace the arm while Lila gently ran a portable scanner across the wrist. The screen flickered red. Non-displaced distal radius fracture, Lila read. Not through the skin. She's lucky. Jamie looked at Sasha. You need a splint, and real care. We can't... I'm not going back, she said through gritted teeth. You leave me, I tell them everything. Your choice. He stared at her. You're hurt. I'll heal. She won't be able to drive, Caleb said, softly. I don't care. Jamie looked at the rest of them. We splint it, we shift schedules, she rides. No more arguments. Caleb rigged a stiff brace using a tent rod, foam tape, and a compression wrap. Lila set it gently. Sasha barely flinched, though her eyes shimmered. They wrapped her wrist with a thermal band. loaded her into the cart's padded seat, and resumed the journey. It took them until the next afternoon to reach Haven's Reach. Dusty had grown quiet again. Not weak, just reflective. It kept returning to the same data pattern, replaying snippets of music, laughter, even arguments. It buzzed faintly whenever Jamie spoke to it, then went still. As they approached the cliffs, Dusty suddenly sprang forward and began tracing a spiral in the sand. Then a line through it, then another spiral. It looked almost like language. Jamie crouched beside it. Is this where they'll come? Dusty hummed once, then traced 5 dots below the symbol. Like before, us. Together, Jamie said. The dome at Haven's Reach still had partial seal integrity. They powered the airlock manually and camped inside. For 3 days they waited. Sasha's arm bruised deeply but held in the brace. Lila monitored Dusty's logs. Caleb reinforced the dome's power strip with salvaged solar panels. Jamie watched the sky. On the 3rd night, a streak of light split the upper atmosphere. A controlled entry, not a meteor. They scrambled outside in suits, eyes wide as a silvery disk hovered just above the northern ridge. It pulsed 3 times. Dusty's eye pulsed in return. Then a beam, not a weapon, a scan washed over them. Jamie flinched. But nothing happened. Dusty stepped forward. The beam shifted, narrowed, then settled on the bot. A hum passed through the air like a heartbeat. Dusty turned to Jamie. One last blink, then a chirp, then silence. I'll miss you, Jamie said, his voice cracked. Dusty leaned gently against his hand, then clicked once, like a soft farewell. The beam intensified, wrapped the little machine in light, and slowly lifted it skyward. No explosion, no roar, just light. And then, nothing. They stood there a long time. It was Lila who finally spoke. He made it. Jamie nodded. The Survey Corps found them 2 days later. They expected questions. Instead, they got a quiet briefing, a signed amnesty, and an odd silence from the upper brass. No punishment, no confiscation. The official report called it a brief anomaly. Jamie called it friendship. He visited the cliff often after that, just to sit. Sometimes he brought his earth pod and played music to the sky. Sometimes he traced spirals in the dust. He never saw Dusty again. But one morning, nearly a year later, a boy at Colony Farsight woke up to find a perfect symbol drawn on his bunk window, a spiral with 5 dots. Jamie smiled. Somewhere, across stars and systems, someone remembered. Jamie never talked much about what happened at Haven's Reach. People had questions, sure, about the signal, the light, the robot, but none that truly got close to what mattered. The Survey Corps ran their own debriefs, poked around the abandoned dome, and scanned every centimeter of dust around the canyon. They found nothing. No wreckage, no trail, no trace. Back at Farsight, life resumed with a slow rhythm. Like Dusty had never existed. But Jamie felt it everywhere. In the hum of the sanitation vents, in the softened hush of the perimeter breezes, in the clean lines of solar dust trails that sometimes, impossibly, curved into spirals near the schoolyard. He didn't say anything about that part. Neither did Sasha, or Lila, or Caleb. For a while, he tried to settle back into normal. School, chores, odd jobs in hydroponics. But his focus drifted. He tinkered with old transmitters, spent hours recalibrating dust sensors, rewatched the message sequence Lila had saved from Dusty's final broadcast, replayed it over and over, each time seeing something new in the patterns, a flicker here, a rhythm there. Then, 3 months after Haven's Reach, something changed. It came through an anomaly report buried deep in Colony Echo Ridge's environmental logs. Lila found it first. A compressed file, miscategorized as a low-priority soil fluctuation, but the waveform? Identical to Dusty's transmission signature. Lila showed it to Jamie during a study break. It pinged only once, then went quiet. but the signature same harmonic profile, same compression algorithm. Where did it come from? Low orbit. Something was here. Briefly, Jamie stared at the screen. Why now? Sasha answered from the doorway. Maybe Dusty's not the only one. They met that night in the old antenna shack, the same place Dusty had first followed Jamie home. Lila had pulled additional logs from the station's passive sensors. Caleb brought a portable field scanner. Sasha brought a classified map copied from her brother's tablet. This wasn't just a ping, Lila said. There was mass displacement. Something entered orbit and something exited fast. Did the Survey Corps catch it? Caleb shook his head. No response logs. Either it was too quick or they're not talking. Jamie stared at the line graphs. We should go back. Not to Haven's Reach. To the coordinates where this happened. Wherever Dusty's signal got answered. You think something came back? Sasha asked. I think something wants us to know they were here. It took another 2 days to prepare. This time, Jamie didn't try to sneak out. He asked. His parents didn't understand, not fully, but they trusted him. After the events at Haven's Reach, the colony leadership had granted Jamie a kind of quiet respect. Not authority, but latitude. They gave him access to an old survey rover. Jamie named it Dustcatcher. It wasn't fast, but it was sturdy, with 2 sealed cabins and a reinforced filtration unit perfect for traveling through the unstable lowlands where the new signal had pulsed. The others joined without question. Sasha's arm was still stiff, even months later. She went through daily mobility therapy, but she never once complained. Lila brought a new diagnostic unit, and Caleb installed a makeshift relay tower on the roof of the rover in case of signal blockages. They drove out on the 6th day of Red Horizon winds. For hours, the rover crawled across open dust fields. The terrain was unfamiliar, far outside regular colony range. Jamie watched the scanners as they climbed a broad plateau dotted with basalt slabs and half-buried impact craters. Then the Hume started. It came from nowhere, yet everywhere, a soft vibration underfoot, faint but rhythmic. Lila checked her panel. There's nothing broadcasting. No, Caleb said, frowning. It's underground. They stopped the rover and stepped out in suits. The plateau stretched silent around them. No wind, no movement, just dust and stone. Then Jamie spotted it. Half buried under a thin crust of red grit, an object. Not big, maybe the size of a helmet. Smooth and silver, but scratched. Like something that had landed hard. He brushed the dust aside. A lens, no blinking light, no noise. Just a single, dull sensor eye. Familiar, but not Dusty's. Jamie crouched low. This isn't... No, Layla said, but it's related. The ground pulsed again. A panel on the object flickered. Not open. Flickered. Like it wanted to respond, but couldn't. Power's too low, Caleb muttered. Zasha stepped forward, pulling a portable solar patch from her belt. Let's charge it. For 20 minutes they waited. Then, slowly, the device clicked open. A small projection emerged. Holographic, not solid. Lines of code. Then shapes. Then a memory. Not Dusty's voice, but something close. A deeper tone. It played fragments, Dusty stacking dominoes. Jamie laughing. Lila pointing at stars. Sasha splashing water on her face. Caleb fixing a wire. And then 5 dots. A spiral. Jamie stared, stunned. It was a message, he whispered. He sent back our memories. The device flickered once more. Then a new symbol appeared, 5 dots again, but this time one separate from the rest, followed by a line, then a triangle, then nothing. What is that? Sasha asked. Jamie stared. Cool. They loaded the data into the rover's nav system. It mapped to a location less than 50 kilometers away, deep in a canyon system called the Glass Trench. known for magnetic interference and unpredictable rock slides. "This is a bad idea," Caleb muttered. Jamie nodded. "But we have to see it through." It took them 8 hours to reach the trench mouth. They parked the rover at a narrow outcrop and continued on foot. The rocks shimmered with traces of silica, hence the name, and made for slippery footing. The path narrowed into a cavern. Inside they found it. A chamber. Natural, but altered. Dust along the walls formed into organized ridges. Not quite writing, more like memory storage. Visualized through sediment patterns. In the center, another bot. It didn't move. Not Dusty. But another unit. Larger. Still, a black scorch mark covered one side. Jamie approached slowly. "Is it broken?" Caleb scanned it. Its processors intact, damage to the shell, but this unit could still run. Lila connected her tab to the port, her screen filled with scrolling text. This was the relay, the message receiver. But it came early, landed during a solar burst, took damage, never made contact. "So Dusty," Jamie began. "Was the backup," Lila finished. "He was plan B." They worked in silence for hours, cleaning the unit, replacing surface fuses, patching power conduits with emergency wire from the rover. At last it blinked. Not blue, green. The unit played a message, text only, a log of Dusty's observations, emotions, adaptations, bonding. And at the end, a single phrase, repeated in multiple translations. Sentient subjects exhibit protective behavior. Recommend peaceful contact. Recommend... Jamie's throat tightened. Friendship? The relay blinked twice, then dimmed. Nothing else came. But it didn't need to. They had proof now, not of invasion or espionage, but of study, curiosity, of something out there that had sent Dusty not just to observe, but to learn what made humans human. And now, with that knowledge, it had reached back. Jamie traced the spiral on the relay's shell. We finished what he started. Jamie didn't speak during the trip back to Farsight. The rover crawled over Martian dunes as if it felt the weight of what they carried. The relay unit, patched but intact, sat on a foam cradle in the cabin's rear. Occasionally, the green light pulsed faintly, as if the machine were dreaming. No one talked much. Sasha, still stiff in her brace, kept checking the external monitors. Lila stared at raw code feeds. Caleb adjusted the rover's battery calibrator without being asked. They all understood. Dusty hadn't been sent as a machine. He'd been sent as a question. And now they had the answer. Farsight was quiet when they arrived. No alarms, no guards waiting. Word of their departure had spread, but no one stopped them. Jamie suspected the Survey Corps had finally read between the lines. Maybe they'd pieced together the satellite logs and the environmental anomalies. Maybe they had seen the old records of an alien bot that had once cleaned dust and taught itself to mimic laughter. Or maybe someone up high had decided this was bigger than a debriefing. Still, they needed help. Jamie's mom was the first person he called. When she saw the condition of the relay bot, scarred, dulled, but softly glowing, her eyes welled up. "You're bringing this to the council, right?" Jamie nodded. "All of us." They didn't give a speech. They didn't need to. The bot spoke for them. In the main council dome, Lila activated the relay's archive. It projected a memory stream, audio, not video. Dusty's logs, translated, emotion tagged, highlighted with moments of human contact. Laughter, games, learning, pain, healing. Then, silence. Then, friendship recommended. For nearly a minute, no one said a word. Finally, Director Haskins stood up. She was a pragmatic woman, calculating, unshakable. And yet her voice was softer than Jamie had ever heard it. "We thought it was surveillance," she said. "And it was. But not in the way we feared." Caleb folded his arms. "It wanted to learn how we connect, not how we fight." Director Haskins nodded slowly. Then it succeeded. Within a week, the Martian Union had approved the research team's formal designation, Interpersonal Contact Study ICS Unit 1. The relay bot became the first officially recognized bridge to non-human intelligent contact in Martian territory. Not as a warning, not as a threat, but as a gift. Jamie watched the research team prepare the chamber near the observatory, sealed from radiation, open to sky view, dust mapped with symbols the relay had drawn when prompted. 5 dots, a spiral, a triangle. He didn't stay on the main team. He didn't want to. Instead, he visited the site each week, sometimes alone, sometimes with Sasha, Lila, and Caleb. They'd bring small things, games, drawings, music samples. Caleb once even brought a fresh soil crystal he'd carved into a model of Dusty. It sat at the base of the relay unit now, a quiet memorial. Months passed. Sasha healed more. Her wrist didn't regain full flexibility, but she adapted, joined Martian rescue services, and trained new recruits in canyon navigation. Lila moved into planetary signal engineering, chasing irregularities full-time now, not for secrecy, but for contact. Caleb opened a small fabrication shop at Cliffside Harbor. Quiet business, lots of tools, but on the side, he built miniature bots, not like Dusty, but inspired by him, simple, kind, curious. Jamie finished school. He didn't apply for the Survey Corps. Instead, he joined environmental maintenance. He liked being outside, liked keeping the dust from choking things, liked walking the same paths he'd once traveled with a tiny, chirping bot on his shoulder. A year later, he got a ping. Untraceable origin, low orbit, 1 burst. He brought it to Lila. Together, they decoded it. 5 notes. Rising, then silence. No data, no image, just a message he knew by heart. They stood on the cliff near Haven's Reach that evening, watching the sky fade into pink and copper. "Do you think it was him?" Lila asked. Jamie didn't answer right away. Then, "I think it was someone who remembers him." Lila smiled. Same thing, really. He stayed after she left. The dust caught the wind that night, making faint trails across the rock. Jamie knelt and dragged his fingers in it, drawing 5 dots. A spiral, a circle. Not for analysis. For remembrance? For hope. Then he whispered, not loud, not for anyone else. "We're still here, still listening." The wind stirred again. For a second, just a second,